Let me begin by summarizing what the story in this book was all about. Right. To make it simple, let me just read a snapshot at the back of this book. This book was written. The author of this book is Alan Drew. As far as I am concerned, this is probably one of his first few books, or probably his first book if I'm not mistaken. But it is it makes such a exciting reading, and to me a very meaningful experience of reading indeed. Okay, Turkey, 1999. A devastating earthquake brings Istanbul crumbling to the ground, ripping apart the fragile stability of Sinan's world. Sinan is the main character in this book. His family home becomes a makeshift tent in a camp run by Western missionaries, whom he stubbornly distrusts, and he soon finds himself struggling to protect his family's honor and values. As he becomes a helpless witness to his daughter's dangerous infatuation with a young American, Sinan takes a series of drastic decisions with unforeseeable consequences. Cultures clash, political and religious tensions mount, and Sinan's actions spiral into a powerful and heartbreaking conclusion. Right. So I mean that's very short. Of course, it doesn't tell you everything what happened in this book. So I will again summarize from what I got just out of my memory reading this book, and I'm sure everything was imprinted right in my mind, but maybe I can't recall everything instantly like that. So basically the story in this book revolves around one family. The father, Sinan is the father, and his wife, Nilüfer is her name, Nilüfer, and then his daughter, her name is Irem, and his son named Ismail. That's quite easy to remember, isn't it? And this family actually is a Kurdish family living in Turkey. So you know, in this book you get to learn a little bit of history about the unfortunate plight of the Kurdish people living in Turkey. And Sinan lived in an outskirts of Istanbul, and with him in the same apartment lived another family, who is an American family, in which you already got from what I wrote, what I read earlier on the summary, that Sinan traditionally being a Kurdish, and because of historical reason, his father was killed by the Turkish army in a very cruel way, out of nothing really. I mean, just because he was displaying a little bit of his Kurdish nationalism, and he was killed by a gun, and this gun was made by Americans. So of course all this all these things inflamed someone who has lost their loved one. Sinan, who lost his father when he was very young, because of that, historically he just didn't like Americans in whatever way they are. So because of that, anyway, there's another family who is an American who lived upstairs from his apartment, and Sinan never spoke to this family, right? So what is their connection, because basically this American family makes another major group of characters in this novel. Uh, the American family basically consisted of the father, Marcus, and the son, Dylan, and the mother, who only lived for a short while. She died in the earthquake. Her name is Sarah Hanem. So, how did it all start? Basically, Sinan's son, Ismail, who was 9, was undergoing this circumcision, which is a traditional Muslim practice. By the way, I like to describe, because Sinan and his family in this book was described as what you call as traditional Muslim family. Anyway, when they speak about traditional Muslim family, means they are a little bit of anti Western and very much protective, trying to preserve the culture and so on. Sometimes it's really very much of cultural rather than Islam as such, and that is the difficulty, maybe the problem. And I'm not too sure. I mean, from what I read from this book, seems like the writer was in between. I mean, looked like he got a good understanding at some point, and there's some other point maybe not. But I think that's not too much of the point. Even though, of course, you know that when someone writes a book, I mean, a story, basically he's writing his perspective or his understanding. In this case, because he's writing about the life of Muslims, so basically he is pouring out his inner understanding, inner dimensions of Islam itself. So, but I mean, it's not so much for me to comment on that, because it's a story. But basically, the author managed to bring this message about a clash of culture and so on. Alright, where I was. Let me take a break with this coffee.